Well, everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today as we kick off our ADEA Predental webinar series, The Many Faces of Dentistry. I am very, very pleased to be joined by three very special guests today, Dr. Rajan Ola, Dr. Jim Marino, and Dr. Edmund Hewlett. Give a wave for us, please.
Everybody.
Thank you. So our expert panelists are going to help acquaint you with the multiple career options that are available to you in the dental profession that exist outside the dental office. So today is really a great opportunity for you to learn about three exciting, diverse, and rewarding career options that might just be a great fit for you. So just a couple of brief housekeeping items before we get started. Just as a reminder, all attendees are in listen-only mode. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the ADEA Go Dental website in the next couple of days, so keep your eyes out for that if there are a couple of people you know that weren't able to join us today. And finally, and very importantly, we appreciate all the questions you sent us through your registration, and we promise we will get to as many as we can. But if there are questions that come up during the three panelists' presentations, please use the question box to send them in. And certainly at the end of the presentation, the panelists will do the best that they can to answer all of the questions. So with that, we're ready to get started with our first question. So the panelists are going to give you a brief overview of their day-to-day jobs, a brief introduction of who they are. And so we're going to get started with you, Dr. Rajan Ola.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you so much for the opportunity to join this webinar today. So I work at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration, and it's called HRSA for short. I work in the HIV/AIDS Bureau in the Division of Community HIV/AIDS Programs. And so I'll provide a brief overview of the Ryan-White HIV/AIDS program before sharing more about my day-to-day role, because I think that would, put my day-to-day role or help put my day-to-day role in perspective. So at the HIV/AIDS Bureau, we administer the Ryan-White HIV/AIDS program, which was first authorized in 1990. The Ryan-White program is the largest federal program that focuses exclusively on HIV/AIDS care, and it was funded at about $2.3 billion in FY 2018. The Ryan-White HIV/AIDS program also provides a comprehensive system of HIV primary medical care, medications, and essential support services for low-income people living with HIV. And so more than 500,000 of people diagnosed with HIV in the United States receive care through the Ryan-White HIV/AIDS program. And the program funds, or we provide grants to state, cities and counties, and also local community-based organizations. And I just wanted to emphasize that there is one statutory provision, and that's the Ryan-White program is the payer of last resort. And that simply means that the Ryan-White HIV/AIDS program funds may not be used for services if another state or federal payer is available. So with that, on a day-to-day, I oversee and monitor 15 Ryan-White grants totaling over $7.5 million in federal funds. I provide technical assistance on programmatic and legislative requirements. I review and analyze process line item budgets, budget narratives, and also standard forms for approval. And I review reports of grantee expenditures. So I just wanted to emphasize that really all funds from the Ryan-White HIV/AIDS program can support oral health services, but there are two programs that focus specifically on dental, and that's the Community-Based Dental Partnership Program and also the Dental Reimbursement Program. So I've had the opportunity to provide input in developing the notice of funding opportunities for those programs. And I would like to encourage you all to visit the HRSA HIV/AIDS Bureau website to learn more about the Ryan-White program. So that's pretty much my day-to-day. Thank you.
Great, that sounds busy. Dr. Marino, how about you?
Well, first, that was very impressive. Thank you. Liz, thank you so much for allowing me to help today and attend. So I get the privilege of working at the American Dental Education Association. So the role I have at ADEA is kind of having one foot in the corporate world and one foot in education. And I mean that in the sense that I am the liaison between our corporate members. So when you think of corporate memberships at a company like ADEA, you could think of the companies that supply toothpaste and some of the products that use on a day-to-day basis. And they have a lot of continuing education courses that they are offering. And my job is to try and find a way to get more corporate members to sponsor the activities of ADEA that allow us to then come to provide services to dental students, faculty, deans, administrators, and residents. So it's a nice combination for me in particular because I really enjoy my role as a clinical dentist, but I also had some experience in the corporate world. I worked for GlaxoSmithKline and Premier Dental Products and Noble Biocare in the past. So that was what I did before coming to ADEA, and now I get to work with those same companies and help them with their donations and sponsorship of educational opportunities that we promote at through ADEA, whether it's our annual session or it's webinars like this or ways that we can reach out to our students and help them learn a little bit more about what the opportunities are out there outside of dentistry.
Thank you. And now I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you, Dr. Marino. I didn't prepare you for this, but I know your current role is with ADEA, but could you talk just a little bit about your time at GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. So I was shocked to even know that GSK was interested in hiring somebody with a dental degree. As it turns out, GSK has a long line of dental health care products that I did not associate with GSK. For example, Pronamel and Biotine, Sensodyne, those types of products that I've used and recommended throughout my career, but they're under the GSK umbrella. So essentially for GSK, I was the medical director for the dental division, which covered North America and Puerto Rico and Canada. So I covered and supported the brands that I mentioned. And my job in that capacity was to make sure that all of our I's were dotted and T's were crossed from a legal compliance and regulatory perspective. Marketing initiatives, commercials that you see on TV with that little heartbeat at the end, that's we had to make sure that all those were truthful, that the references that they provided were supported in evidence and through research. And that's was really a unique opportunity, and one that I'd love to share more about. There's those types of opportunities out there that are outside of clinical dentistry that can be kind of incorporated into your day-to-day kind of workflow. And my passion's always been teaching, so I've kind of brought those kind of things together. And now with ADEA, it seems like I finally found the perfect match and perfect home.
Well, we're glad to have you at ADEA, Dr. Marino.
Grateful to be here.
And Dr. Hewlett, please share with us kind of your day-to-day role at UCLA.
School of Dentistry. I also serve as our Associate Dean for Outreach and Diversity. And I can tell you that my days are very varied and never boring. Very busy, but never boring. So any given day for me is going to include a mix of teaching our students either in a classroom setting or in the clinical setting. I see my own patients every week, one day a week in our faculty practice. I have a number of administrative responsibilities, pretty much everything that falls under our mission to sustain and grow and enhance our culture of the school in terms of equity, diversity, and inclusion. All of those initiatives and activities fall under my administrative umbrella, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I collaborate a lot, collaborate on those things. I collaborate with other faculty in teaching, in research, on committees that are designed to move forward the other missions of the school of education, research, and service to the community. I travel a fair amount at conferences and what have you. In fact, I'm here in DC right now at ADEA headquarters. I just happen to be here in town for a conference, and so it's never ever dull. It's very intellectually stimulating, and I think I have to tell you the best part of my job is the interaction with the students and seeing them grow and seeing them develop. And also a lot of my job now that I choose to do is connecting with students when they're in the pre-dental pipeline and being able to advise them and speak with them and to see them, get from where they are to reach their goal is very exciting. And to have even a tiny role in that is extremely gratifying as well.
I bet. Well, we're glad to have you, Dr. Hewlett. Well, thank you, everyone. I think that I'm hoping that the audience members in attendance kind of get an idea of the breadth of, diversity we have here in terms of roles, and that, all of the members here have been trained as a DDS or DMD, but they all have very varied roles in the profession of dentistry. So, Dr. Marino, we're going to go with you. What surprises people the most when you talk to them about your career?
So it's a funny question sometimes, because when they ask me, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm a dentist. I said, oh, where's your practice? So, well, I'm not practicing right now. It's kind of, then you have to kind of explain. So it's a very, one layered thinkings from a lot of, and rightfully so. I had no idea there was anything other than being a dentist when I was in dental school. So I think that's what kind of shocks them the most. And then they ask, well, do you still practice? Say, oh, I practice, a little here and there, trying to figure out how to answer that question. But I'm full-time with ADEA. And, then you get the opportunity to explain what your background has been and what the opportunities are in the current role that you have. And I think that's kind of the most fun for me, is to try and help them understand that you can be a dentist and still, take care of patients clinically, but then you can also follow your passions, whether it's technology, whether it's education, whether it's outreach, whether it's diversity. There's so many opportunities out there, and it really does breathe a lot of life into the career. And what's nice about dentistry is that there's so many different facets, as you see just on the panel here, different areas that can capture your interests and hobbies. You can make that part of your career choice as well. So I think for me, the question is always, the first one, where do you practice? And second, how does that happen? How'd you get into that? What happened to make you want to do that? And it's a nice story to tell.
Great, thank you. Dr. Hewlett, how about you?
Oh, did you say me?
Yes, sorry, Dr. Hewlett.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm here. Don't worry. I'm so enthralled there listening to Dr. description. People are surprised, when I tell them I'm a faculty member at a dental school. They say, oh, so you teach? And well, yes, of course I do teach, but there's so much more to it, as I touched on in my previous comments. I think the average person, when they think of an academic career in dentistry, they don't really understand just how rich and multi-layered, as Dr. Marino said, it is. I mentioned a lot of the things I collaborate with within the school. I'm very active in dental education on a national level through this organization, ADEA. And so I'm in contact across the miles all the time with colleagues at other schools about one thing or another, in collaborations on different efforts, sometimes just to ask, how do you do this over there? And they'll ask us, we'll ask each other these kinds of things all the time. So I'm a member of this large scholarly community of educators around the country, and even on my own campus outside of the school, and largely through my associate dean role, I actually have a very warm, lively connection with other individuals on campus in other departments who have responsibilities similar to mine. And I collaborate with them, especially the others in the health sciences schools, which at UCLA are nursing, public health, and medicine. And with my counterparts in those schools, we will frequently collaborate to bring in speakers, or host seminars or trainings on things that relate to diversity and equity, creating a more inclusive environment in the school. And then, of course, in any academic position at a university like mine, you are expected to conduct research. So that is the high expectation of that, and I have done that as well. So yeah, I think that's the most surprising thing. When I start to catalog all the other things that my job involves, people are surprised.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think the first inclination someone would think is, oh, you just teach. That's all you do because you're at a university, but that's clearly not true. You wear many hats at UCLA.
Not to discount the importance of teaching, of course, but there's a lot more to it than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Adenauer, how about you?
Yeah, so similar to what Dr. Marino mentioned earlier, people usually think, oh, you're a dentist, you're seeing patients 100% of the time, and they're surprised that you're not, providing direct patient care 100% of the time. But I do currently have clinical privileges in a local private practice, and I do see patients a couple of days a month. But on a day-to-day, I am in a clinical setting. But I think it's important to have that in a non-clinical setting. As I mentioned earlier, in my bureau, we have about 60 Brian White grants that focus specifically on dental, and there are only 2 oral health experts, so 2 dentists in the bureau. So, we're able to offer our perspective in the development of the Notice of Funding Opportunity, and even across HRSA, across the agency, we're able to provide input when Notice of Funding Opportunities come out. So I think having that clinical perspective of being able to provide that insight in terms of program development is very beneficial.
Great, thank you very much. That's all things that I think probably many of the attendees weren't thinking they'd hear about the roles that you guys have in your current job. So thank you very much. Dr. Hewlett, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about the influences and experiences that led you to your current career path.
Sure. As far as dentistry in general, it's, I always enjoyed working with my hands. I was always a nerdy science kid. I loved science from a very young age. And I knew I wanted to do something with people. But the light didn't go on until I was already maybe halfway through college. And I was a biology major. I figured, well, eventually I'll grow up and figure out what I want to do. And someone just planted it in my mind. Well, have you thought about dentistry? And it was just that simple spark that caused me to explore it further. And it really felt like a good fit. So, and thankfully it's turned out to be just that. So that's how it initially happened. As far as on an academic career, that was the farthest thing from my mind when I started dental school. I was like everybody else that we talked about out there. I figured dentist does dentistry in a dental office. And I love that part of it. I actually did that part-time for about 5 or 6 years. And I was teaching part-time during that period. The big influence to even do that for me was the way that I was treated by my instructors in dental school. They were very committed to my success. And I was treated with support in a supportive and respectful environment. And they really seemed to care that all of us made it. It was hard, but knowing that we had their encouragement meant the world. And to be able to do that for someone seemed like a wonderful thing to do. So I became interested in part-time teaching. Did that for a few years while I practiced on the outside as an associate. And then an opportunity came along to take a full-time position that I was encouraged to apply for, or buy the practice I was an associate in. So now here I have this embarrassment of riches. I have a big choice to make. And I knew I'd still be able to see patients as an assistant professor at that time. So I wouldn't have to give that up, but I would also have just the intellectual stimulation and the daily collaboration with colleagues and students and the variety of the day that I really liked and really came to enjoy as a part-time faculty. And quickly, one other thing, you should understand that I describe my role as a full-time faculty member. You should all understand that every dental school depends very heavily on part-time faculty. So if teaching sounds like something you might be interested in, or you develop that interest somewhere along the way, that is certainly an avenue that you can pursue in addition to practicing outside in your own practice or in a group practice or any number of models that way.
Great, thank you very much. That's really reassuring to hear that one of the positive role models in your life were dental school faculty. Not that that surprises me, of course, but I think that's really good for pre-dental students to hear. That's great. Dr. Adenauer, you're up.
Yes, so my undergrad dental school and residency experience really helped shape my career path. In undergrad, I was a public health major, and during our final semester, we had to find an internship, and I was lucky enough to find a dental public health expert to work with at the University of Maryland School of Public Health. And during that internship, I had really great exposure. At that time, I had to, read the Surgeon General's report and, write a summary on, each chapter about the state of oral health in America. I had the opportunity to attend meetings hosted by the Institute of Medicine. I had the opportunity to volunteer on a mobile van. And so as a public health major, I was interested in a, population level approach to health. And so I really enjoyed that experience. And so when I started dental school, I knew I wanted to pursue an MPH as well. And luckily at the University of Maryland Dental School, they had the 5-year dual degree program. And so between second and third year, I completed my MPH. And then after dental school, I applied for a dental public health residency at the National Institute of Health, NIDCR, so National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research. And that was a really, really great experience. And it really put everything, all the experiences from my undergrad internship, and now it's like I'm able, and also for my MPH, I'm able to build on that and really, in some extent, try to put that into practice, if so to speak. And so, during my residency, I had the opportunity to review peer-reviewed articles, journal club, critique the articles. I had the opportunity to plan site visits, and interestingly enough, HRSA was actually one of the site visits at that time, and that's actually how I learned about my current position. We did visit ADEA, we visit PAHO, Pan American Health Organization. And so really just a wealth of experience and exposure at that point. And also during my residency, a lot of my mentors were in the US Public Health Service. And so I did a little more research about the Public Health Service. I learned about the mission, I learned about the core values. And the mission is to protect, promote, and advance the health and safety of the nation. The core values are leadership, service, integrity, and excellence. And that's something that I feel like aligns closely with my personal principles and values as well. And so being in the public health service has challenged me, to constantly work to exemplify those core values each day. And so I would say really having that exposure early on in undergrad really did help shape my career path.
Great, thank you so much. How about you, Dr. Marino?
Well, I was deathly afraid of the dentist growing up, didn't like going, never really felt like it was a fun place to go and be. So I was very surprised that I turned into a dentist. But what happened for me was I was in undergraduate and pursuing something in the health field. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I was a biology major and environmental studies major, thinking, well, I can help the environment, maybe help people or the environment. Wasn't sure where to go. It wasn't until after I graduated that it hit me that, wait, I really, just like Dr. Hewlett said, really enjoyed working with my hands. And I thought, well, maybe you can combine those two. There's an artistry and there's the science, and there's the ability to help people. So bringing those three things together really seemed like a good fit for me. And I absolutely love dental school. I know it's very difficult if you talk to a lot of different dental students from different schools. They'll tell you it's very challenging, and hopefully they'll share that it's very exciting and very rewarding. So sometimes they might share other things, but focus on those good things, because there's a lot of great opportunities. My two colleagues say, there's those teachers are some of the best I've ever had. And they actually inspired me to want to be to teach. So I have been teaching. I've been probably teaching for about 5 years now, and I absolutely love it. It's the best part of my day. I love being able to see those students and see those eyes that were once mine, not knowing what's going on. Then all of a sudden you make something and you think, I made that. And now I can give that to somebody. I can improve the quality of their overall health. And so many things are tied to the mouth, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time, the oral systemic kind of contributions and interactivity. So that when we elevate their quality of oral care, you elevate their lifestyle, and you can help them become more active, tend to smile more, right? To become more social. So those are things that really hit home for me, so much so that I pursued a master's degree in education and decided at some point I wanted to come back and teach. So when I kind of pulled all that together, I thought, wow, dentistry, education, I really enjoy technology. It's a beautiful fit. And then if you can decide that that's something you want to get back at some point, and unfortunately, like many of my colleagues, there's a lot of student loans that we had to kind of address, which it's just part of the process. But again, once you can get past certain things and you've got time and you're able to get back, and like Dr. Hewlett said, it's a part-time is a great opportunity to just give a little bit, maybe on a Wednesday afternoon or a Thursday morning, whatever works for you in your schedule. It's been a really rewarding process for me, and I really appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much. That sounds very inspiring to know that you didn't like the dentist and you became one. So I hope people on the call, the webinar, are listening. If you don't think you like the dentist, dentistry still might be for you. Dr. Rajan Ola, if a student came to you today, what advice would you give them about the multiple pathways the profession of dentistry has to offer? It's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah. So I would definitely tell them that, dentistry is a very rewarding career. I'll tell them to follow their dream and follow their passion. I'll let them know that, the journey might not be smooth and they might experience obstacles along the way. And yes, dental school is challenging. I've had, just even thinking back to my dental school experience, at times I had to miss, events because of an exam or a test that I had to study for, but really just focusing and just staying committed and realizing that this too shall pass kind of thing, and just stay focused on the end goal. Taking the unconventional route was the more challenging for me, because sometimes people are, even with the door degree, people tell you, why don't you just finish dental school? Why, stop between second year and work on your NPH and you haven't even finished dental school? And so I would really just advise people to don't let others project their negativity. And if you feel confident and you feel certain that, this is the right career decision for you, then definitely go for it.
Great, thank you very much. Dr. Marino, we'll go back to you. Uh-oh. Oh, hold on, Doctor. We got you on pause or on mute for a second. I'm going to jump to Dr. Hewlett while I work on figuring out the sound issue.
Okay, sure. I would encourage all of you to do your homework. I do some activity in admissions, and one of the many things we look at is shadowing hours, exposure to the profession. And that matters because we want to make sure that any applicant fully understands what the profession is and what it might look like on a day-to-day basis in practice. Yes, there are a great many ways, directions in a dental career that you can go. But at its core, it is dental care, and that is going to be what your four-year curriculum is about. And so you're going to have to be engaged with that and enjoy it and push through the challenging curriculum. So do your homework and get good exposure to the profession. And also do homework in terms of what is the profession like on a larger basis right now? What is influencing dental practice? I can tell you that, and probably this is true for any professional school, is that the landscape of everything is changing so much now with technology and with market forces, and dentistry is certainly affected by those things as well. So there are changes afoot. Frankly, I think some very exciting changes. Technology is changing dentistry in ways that I never thought I'd live to see. Fascinating science fiction kinds of things that are happening in dentistry with technology right now. So very, very exciting to see that happen. Also, just the models of delivery, the single doctor private practice is still there and still a viable option, but there are other options now that are available in different sorts of groups and corporate-owned entities. There is, and I think that, and I'm really pleased by this, and I'm sure Dr. Adenauer, you are too. It's my sense that a lot of our students now are seeing the public health sector, and by that I mean working in community clinics, as viable jobs. And these are good positions at well-run clinics. Many of them are increasingly offering loan forgiveness, So again, understand everything that's going on as much as you can about the profession at large, in addition to the closer angle, the macro vision as well.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Hewlett, I think, we had several people, registrants ask questions about where they thought it would be in, 5, 10, 15 years. So I think it's something that you've already, addressed it a little bit, which is great. And we might come back to that a little bit, because I think there's some interest there on attendees' parts. I think I got you covered, Dr. DeMarino. I think we got you unmuted. So please, can we hear from you?
Absolutely, thank you. So, one of the things I would encourage is to look into the schools that you're applying to. Figure out what matches with your skill set and your interests. Some schools are very involved in research. Some schools have a great outreach program. Some schools do a lot with public service. Each school has its own sort of niche, and finding that school that's going to be best for you is a great head start. So one of the things ADEA does is, they offer assistance in helping you find that school that's going to be the one that's going to be most like you and help pull the best out of you. And I think that's a great head start and a good first step. Just talking to different professionals, talking to an endodontist, a periodontist, an orthodontist, maybe shadowing, like Dr. Adenauer said, it's a great opportunity to kind of get an understanding of what else is out there and what the day-to-day looks like in those different specialties. And what's great about dentistry is you could be a general dentist, you can be a specialist, you can focus your career in teaching and do all these different combination of things. So you're not limited in any one respect. And in fact, I don't know many other professions that offer so much diversity in what you can do. So at this point in time, when you're looking into, is this the right profession for me? Is this something I might want to do? If you really enjoy helping people, if you have a science affinity, if you enjoy learning about dentistry and the body and how everything comes together, and you really like working with your hands and really pull all those things together, it's a great profession that offers not just a career path in clinical dentistry, but in addition to clinical dentistry, offers so much more.
Great. Thank you very much. That is a great summary of some of the stuff we do at ADEA too. So thank you. So just one final question before we jump into Q&A. I know we've got a couple questions in the live Q&A box, and we have a few selected to answer from the attendees sending them in. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and for our panelists. I will say another thank you before the end, but We'll start with Dr. Hewlett. Are there any tools or tips or resources that you would recommend to, pre-dental students as they start to figure out, they know dentistry might be right for them, but they're not quite sure what that career path looks like? If you have any resources to share, that'd be great.
Sure. First of all, I gotta also give a shout out to Go Dental. That is a pretty much all in one place shopping kind of. It's a tremendous resource for for the prospective dentist. I would also, though, as far as where dentistry is going and what the pulse of the profession is, certainly wherever you live, there is a local chapter of the American Dental Association, and they meet regularly. I would encourage you to reach out to that organization and let them know that you're a pre-dental student, and they tend to be welcoming to students, to invite you to a meeting, let you have a meal, and it's a great opportunity to network with other dentists. For a number of reasons, not only just for future employment, but just to be in that milieu, to hear what they're talking about and what they think about their profession, how they enjoy what they do, the different ways that they do it. I would encourage you to do that. Probably the American Dental Association website or your local state dental association website are also good places just to browse and see what's the buzz about. What are they talking about? One other thing I want to mention very quickly about the future is that the biggest buzzword has been for some time interprofessional practice, interprofessional education. All of the different professional education groups have been meeting regularly and talking about that for some years now, because we really see the future seers see that practice is going that way. Not that we're going to be doing medicine and docs are going to be doing, medical doctors are going to be doing dentistry, but we're going to be practicing a lot more collaboratively, maybe often under the same roof in the same facility, using the same electronic patient record, and that's going to enhance care. And I also, finally, I think that, we're getting to the point now where dentists are going to be appropriately compensated for preventive services, for making people well and keeping them well. We're definitely moving in that direction. It's way overdue, but that is going to also encourage us to do the best we can on behalf of our patients.
Thank you very much. Dr. Marino, anything else to add?
So one of the things that I'd like to share is that there's always an opportunity to kind of reach out to colleagues or friends of family that might be in the profession, whether it's a dental assistant, hygienist, dentist, anything that can kind of give you an opportunity of understanding what their day in, day out life looks like, what their interest levels are, what they've done in their career. It's always a great start. And I encourage, depending on, regardless of which platform you're looking for, you want to be a hygienist, a dentist assistant, every one of them can offer you insights to what your career might look like if you choose dentistry. Another great opportunity is the dental meetings that are around the country. If they come too close probably to your state, your city, there's different groups. Each state has its own dental organization. Like Dr. Hewlett was mentioning with the ADA, you've got New Jersey Dental Association, Pennsylvania Dental Association, Academy of General Dentistry. They each have different meetings throughout the country. That's a great way to just kind of be a fly on the wall. Go there, kind of observe, see what's happening, see if you can attend some of those sessions, because that's where the future of dentistry is being discussed. That's where they're talking about the research that they've done over the last X amount of months or years that's going to shape that future. I was listening to the television today, and they were talking about the self-driving cars, and that's the next thing. Well, we heard that for so long, and I said, well, and they're finally making it. They said it was a BMW. Actually, I was surprised, and they said, oh, you can pre-order it now. It's going to be ready in 2025. I thought, how are we going to do that? But that's what you see at these events. You go to these meetings. The ADEA annual session is a great opportunity. The Go Dental Fair on that Saturday, I have to tell you, there's such great energy there. You've got all the dental schools that are there for you to go door to door to say, what's new at Penn? What's new at Temple? What's at UNC? What are you doing there that might be of interest to me? That's a great resource to help you kind of guide you in your path. And it will help you either confirm that you want to be a dentist or a dental professional, or might say, maybe that's not for me. But either way, it's a great opportunity to have a little bit of insight and learn from the authorities in the field. And if anything kind of sparks your interest, then it can really help you to make a decision on what your next step might be.
Thank you. Dr. Rajan Ola, last but certainly not least.
Yes, definitely. I agree with everything that the other panelists have said. And just to reiterate, really being proactive and networking. And also, I just want to add the mentorship piece. So one, staying connected in organized dentistry, attending meetings, really staying informed about current events and things that are happening in the field. But I've also found mentors to be very helpful, because at times most of them have been there before, and they can offer insight on how they navigated the situation. And also they're able to share, even career development opportunities that maybe you didn't even know existed. So I would say seek out mentors and then network.
Great. Thank you very much. This has all been such valuable information, and I really appreciate you giving your time and expertise to the attendees on our webinar. I hope attendees that you've had the opportunity to kind of really get a sense of the diversity of options available in the profession of dentistry, and hopefully you've kind of thought about something that might be a good fit for you. Again, panelists, thank you very much. We are going to jump into Q&A. I know we have a couple of questions that we want to answer from the registrants, from the registration forms, and so I will just jump right into them. So the first question is an interesting one. As somebody who does recruiting at ADEA, I get this question in some form or another often. And it's, what kind of career paths, when you're talking about dentistry, would allow me to do some traveling? I like to travel, so I understand where somebody's coming from there. Maybe Dr. Rajan Ola, do you want to, you might be the best person to start us off with an answer on that one.
Yeah, sure. So I do get to travel a bit in my current position. So with our recipients, we usually have monitoring calls, and we check in monthly and try to see how they're doing. But ever so often, I would say at least once every 3 years or so, we do go on site. So between the 15 recipients, you might have like up to 3 or 4 site visits in a year. So that is an opportunity to travel, but I guess you're traveling for work, so you're probably busy. But also even attending meetings, if you're attending like the National Oral Health Conference or ADA meeting, I think that's also, even in clinical practice, that's also an opportunity to travel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Hewlett is actually, somebody who's doing traveling right now for his job. As he mentioned, he is at a UCLA, but he's in DC right now. So, I mean, I'm happy for you to answer that, Dr. Hewlett, but I think you might want to talk a little bit about, just very briefly, about why you're here. I don't think we've mentioned SHPEP, but this is a good kind of segue into talking about it.
I'm actually here for a meeting of all the 15 institutions around the country who grant under the Summer Health Education, Summer Health Professions Education Program. It's not my first day with the program, SHPEP. And this is a 6-week in-residence program for rising second and third year college students who are pre-health. And it's an opportunity to spend that time on a campus of one of the host institutions and have a curriculum that exposes you to the profession from the educational standpoint, from the training standpoint, but also a curriculum that involves learning skills and people skills, learning about health disparities. It's very commonly the core that the curriculum is built around. And I've certainly seen over the years in this program, a number of those students go on to matriculate to dental school. It actually is a pretty good percentage rate, and we've had some come to UCLA as well. So that's why I'm here, the annual grantees meeting. And again, I do a fair amount of traveling at these conferences, but one other thing to consider is that I've also done traveling as a continuing education provider to teach my colleague dentists. And you don't have to be a dental school faculty member to do that. So, but you do have to know what you're talking about. So you want to document the things that you do in your practice, take good photos, and you'll learn how to do that in dental school. You want to document things and you want to do it to the best of your ability, always get better, understand the ins and outs, develop speaking skills, and you can create, you can market yourself as someone who can teach other dentists about, what you've learned and what you do. And, you can open up a lot of travel opportunities to be invited to come and speak at the conferences that we're talking about. So there's some dentists who do quite a bit of that in addition to managing their own practice as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Thank you. Dr. Marino, I know you are traveling yesterday when I talked to you, so I know part of your job is definitely traveling. So if you could tell the audience a little bit about some of the things that you've done in your role.
Sure. So in my current role at ADEA, I do a lot of traveling. So essentially what I'm doing is going to different dental meetings, facilitating engagement between corporate members and ADEA and schools, faculty, students, and residents. So what I'm also doing is trying to kind of investigate different dental companies that might be of interest in joining ADEA as a corporate member. And it's a really exciting opportunity to kind of go out and bring such a great organization to these different corporations who some immediately understand who ADEA is. They've worked with ADEA before, and it's an easy kind of assimilation. Others aren't quite sure sometimes, and when you get to explain to them what ADEA offers, it's a fun opportunity to kind of collaborate with them and try and help their business, but at the same time help improve the quality of the education and the collaboration between corporates and dental institutions across the country and even Canada. One of the things that Dr. Hewlett mentioned is absolutely right on as far as if you're passionate about that type of, whether it's photos, technology, whatever you're really whatever you enjoy. If you enjoy working with children, if you enjoy working with children with special needs, these types of things, there's a niche out there, and corporations who they're always looking for good quality key opinion leaders, they're called, that have a good understanding of the use of the technology that they develop, and they're incorporating with good sound quality, evidence-based dentistry into their practice. If you find something that you enjoy working with, or companies, products that you really enjoy, I encourage you to reach out to them. Take photos, put case studies together, share that with these companies. Many of them are always looking for that type of content, whether it's for marketing purposes, for their educational platforms. A lot of these companies work and sponsor CE programs. And their goal in these kind of collaborations is to raise the dental awareness of different conditions and how they could be treated, different modalities. And that you can play a pivotal role in that, starting in dental school all the way through your career, in reaching out to these companies and trying to create that little niche for yourself. And you get passionate about it and dedicated to it, that can lead to a lot of travel and speaking opportunities.
Thank you. I think you read my mind, because the next question I was going to ask is, how do you incorporate some of your own personal passions outside of dentistry into the profession of dentistry? So I think you were reading my mind and knew I was going to ask that. So I will let you start out with that answer, Dr. Marino.
Well, it's interesting because, at the heart of all of this are your patients, right? Your goal is to increase the quality of their life, whether it's through a new smile, whether it's just, a filling, and I say just a filling, but that filling could be something that's been symptomatic for them for so long. And then all of a sudden you take away that discomfort and they can chew better, and they smile better, or they interact better. They actually go out. We've had patients who don't want to go, and they're not as social as they used to be because they're embarrassed of their smile or their halitosis, their bad breath. You have a pivotal role in helping increase the quality of that patient's life and those around that person, whether it's a parent or a sibling. You have that ability. And what's great is that you find a passion that for example, we raise seeing eye dogs, and that's something that we get them when they're 8 weeks old, and we train them until they're 18 months old, and then they go back to the facility that trains them, the major training, but then they get placed with a blind person. And you bring that to your office, you bring the dogs to your office, you bring your passions to the office, you put the photos on the walls, and that engages your patients. Maybe that patient's very scared when they come into the office, but they see something that you're passionate about, you share that with them, it gives them a level of credibility and belief in you and understanding and that connection. So whether it's technology and photos or, your passions with your outreach programs, whatever it is, bring that to your patients, bring it to your practice, bring it to your, to your life and what you're doing, allow them to see that, and it pays dividends. If nothing else, it encourages them in some other capacity that they might not have expected from a dentist, but it can lead to a career alternative, like I mentioned, through collaborating with corporations or bringing these case studies to your study club. That's always a great opportunity, or even back to your dental schools and helping with teaching. It's a great way to bring all that full circle.
Great, thank you. Dr. Rajan Ola, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just to add, I'm passionate about public health, I'm passionate about service, and I'm just thinking about the opportunity I had to, volunteer at the Mid-Maryland Mission of Mercy, and really, thousands of people lined up to receive oral health care. And, in that moment, it's like, it's all worth it. And years of dental school and, all the sacrifices that you feel that you had to make to get to this point. It's like being able to help other people and being able to provide care to, low income and underserved populations. So, moments like that, it makes me really grateful and happy to, be at this point in my career. So, and that's something that I'm passionate about.
Great, thank you. And Dr. Hewlett, how about you?
I find that a lot of dentists have some creative outlet of some kind that, on its face has nothing to do with dentistry. Like photography, although you will be doing a lot of photography in your dental career, or painting or sculpture. And dentists who do that are very sometimes proud to bring their work to their office and decorate their office with it. And so that's a way you can bring that passion with you, and you can share it with your patients, and they'll ask you about it. And then you get a chance to talk about, that personal passion of yours and take pride in it. And, you see it every day. It's not something that you're totally separated from when you're at work. I have a group of colleagues, it's like 3 or 4 colleagues who for decades, they are avid scuba divers. And every year they take a nice trip somewhere or two, and they take some spectacular underwater photos of sea life, and then they make a wonderful calendar. And they give the calendar out to all of their patients and their referring doctors. I have another colleague who grew up in the Southern California area in the beach community. He's a beach guy, and he's an orthodontist now, and his office it's out of control. It has got a surfboard on every wall, and it's a sort of tropical theme in the office. And he's also an avid beach volleyball player, for many years. And all of that is reflected in the decor of his office. And so he's around that all the time. All of the staff wear tropical shirts at work every day. And so he's just really, he's brought his whole upbringing and lifestyle and what he enjoys and just surrounds himself with it. And it's done very tastefully, very professionally. And, it's just that much more fun for him to have that environment.
Absolutely. I wish my dentist office had surfboards on the walls. But, Well, I think we're almost out of time. So instead of trying to rush through one last question, I think I will ask before we sign off if there's any last minute pieces of advice our panelists want to share with attendees. Again, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your expertise. I certainly learned a lot, and I've been at ADEA 4.5 years, and I still feel like I'm learning a lot about the profession every time I do something like this. So thank you so much for sharing your backgrounds and your career paths. So any last minute advice? Dr. Adenauer, we'll start with you.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I would just like to say, follow your passion, follow your dream. It might not always be easy, but it'll be worth it.
Wow.
Dr. Hewlett.
Very similar, stay the course, believe in yourself. I think it was Dr. Adenauer earlier in the webinar said something to the effect of, if there's a person that, in your life that doubts that you can do what you're setting out to do or doesn't understand why, that's fine. Set them aside and find someone who does. And that's where the mentorship comes in. But, believe in yourself and, follow your heart. And if you do that, you will stay on course.
Mm.
Thank you. And last but certainly least, Dr. Marino.
Well, I don't know how you follow both of those. They were close on each one of them. That was absolutely spectacular. I guess the only thing I might want to add is if you decide to take this path, reach out to your friends, reach out to family members, reach out to those who have gone through this before, right? You're not alone. I think that's the one thing I really want to make sure that I kind of stress is that, take care of yourself mentally, physically. It's a great profession. It's one that provides so much more back to you than you give. But you change lives and it really matters. So just make sure you have a good support system. If you ever, make sure you have that opportunity to reach out to somebody and kind of band together and just kind of learn with each other and stay the course, as Dr. Adenauer and Dr. Hewlett said, perfectly said.
Great. Well, thank you. I think that's all great advice, and I hope the attendees today will take that advice and run with it. So I, of course, working in ADEA and being doing a lot with ADEA Dental, I have to end the webinar by plugging ADEA Dental. Please, if you're not familiar with ADEA Dental, check it out. It's adea.org/Go Dental. It's a really great source, a lot of free information, and sign up for our monthly newsletter. You'll get more information about our free events. We have webinars like this, but we also, as Dr. Marino mentioned, the recruitment event, and we also have virtual fairs that happen in the spring. So please, keep in touch with us because we would love to share as much information with you as we can. I will sign off now. Again, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today, and especially our panelists. You were outstanding. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see everyone later. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.